This conference will now be recorded.
You started.
I did.
Yeah, I did.
Are we?
Get you one.
We're on.
Okay. The Airport Advisory
He's
Commission
my
meeting
lawyer.
Tuesday, June the 4th is called to order. Maya, can
Keep him in
you
the dark.
give me a roll call, please?
Chair Kunkel,
Present?
Mr. Spiritu,
Who's absent?
Mr. Hitchcock,
Present.
Mr. Howell. We'll put him absent for now. And
Yes.
Yep.
Mr. McDonald.
Present.
All right, first thing we need to do is approve our agenda. Amalia, thanks for pitching in and helping out with that. If you'll look at the first 2 pages of your packet, that's our agenda. There's a lot of items on it today, so we'll move through those as quickly as I can. Are there any?
Move approval.
Second.
Motion made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the agenda as submitted signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Next thing is the approval of minutes from the April 2nd regular meeting. That's the first minutes in your package. If you'd look at those. If there are any corrections or additions, please note that. Otherwise, the chair will entertain a motion to approve the minutes from Tuesday, April the 2nd.
So moved.
Second.
Motion's made and seconded. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor of approving the April the 2nd minutes for the AAC signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Sean, we saved you a seat right here. All right, next minutes are Tuesday, May the 14th. Pretty limited meeting, but if there's any discussion or corrections or additions to the minutes, signify so.
Mr. Chairman, I'd move approval of May 14th and May 17th special meeting minutes.
Since they were concerning the same things. Motion's been made and seconded to approve both May the 14th and May the 17th minutes. Any discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor signify so by saying aye. Aye. All opposed? Motion carries. So minutes are approved, and one thing that I'd like to do, I was notified as I walked in, we've got one recent graduate back here from Armstrong, working for Armstrong, and one that's still in school. And I suggested to Armstrong that they hang on to these guys because they're both going to New Mexico Tech. So that's as good as they're going to get. So thank you guys for being here. All right. No, don't try. Just do it. Just do it. Air Center Operations Report. Jennifer.
Okay, so our passenger boardings for, and I'm going to read off. I need a bunch of this better. I will keep when we're done on half screen. There we go. Okay, so I don't. For the month of April, it's 3266 versus 3272 for 2023. I was pushing these
folks to get me May's so we could have a current, and they're just now starting to trickle in. So hopefully
Jennifer?
next month I can
So
push them.
the 3272 was with only 2 flights, right? Or 3 flights, and the 3266 was with only 2 flights.
Last
Right.
year we lost the.
But isn't
in May.
One color's,
Last year.
did we lose the flight by then? By 20?
We lost it in May.
Okay, so the April number is actually, that's pretty good for only having 2 versus 3.
And we also had the larger aircraft during this April.
Yeah, still, it shows you if you bring them, they will come.
If you just get a big enough airplane, they'll come.
Yeah, they're filling them.
You know,
Our airport operations, for April,
so if you've got May there.
we did. I tell you, I'm pushing because I want to get current information to you. Some of them I'm able to do, and others are taking their time and trickling in. But for 2024, in April, it was just 1293. We'd already lost the Navy. For May, we're 2377 versus the 2068. So our operations for May are up. We've got NATO here right now. We anticipate having Airbus here this month. And we're looking at having Boeing back at the end of August.
So you got NATO, Boeing, and Airbus. So that's
So what, I mean, I know what NATO is, but that's mostly in Europe. What are you talking about?
The aircraft, the Germans. The
Okay,
Germans
the
are
Germans,
here
they were training
with the
Okay, the Germans are
A330.
here.
So,
fielders.
yeah, they're just flying missions out of here, but we're getting the count.
You know, is there way, on the previous slide, when we have our operations up, when you have the billings, is there any way we can get the revenue from those tickets? You know, we have what are the people paying to get here? If you had an average, you get some idea of how much,
We will be able
what
to.
they're charging people to come in here, because sometimes, the tickets here, I mean,
Mr. Mayor, is the sooner the city council will approve our air service consultant, the sooner we'll have that information available.
we had him all worked out, what happened?
Well, I don't know, the legal committee or I don't remember which
We only
one.
received one proposal. So
Well, it was
we
a
have-
good one.
They asked us to send it back. So we're at again, actually, at 2:00 today will be, they'll be opening the proposals. I checked yesterday, we have 2, possibly another one coming in today.
Right.
And so if you can pick up your proposals to evaluate, we're gonna have the evaluations Thursday at 8:30. So anytime
Okay.
after 4:00 today, they'll be ready to,
How much does the airport charge per passenger? What do we get? 450?
4:50.
So that wouldn't be a hard calculation to see what revenue comes to the city off of that. Times it by $4.50. That's where you're at.
So I want to get some idea what they're charging on the flights, charging people for flights, because if you're in the UFO festival, it's $1,000 away. I mean, that's what some of the people were charging, what they told me.
Yeah, because you only had 2 flights last year.
That's about it, too. Better if our people have service to get in and out of here,
Absolutely. That's
When
absolutely.
when we only have 2 planes, it's.
But when they
guaranteed
fill up the
revenue.
airplanes, the price goes up. The airline seats become a commodity. So the more flights you have, the more airlines you have, then you have a little competition for flights.
And the amounts on the tickets vary significantly. Laura just found that out, having to get back to Kansas, and she needed to fly in about a week, so obviously expensive. But to leave from here to get to Kansas City, here DFW to Kansas City, was around $1,200
Round trip?
round trip. If she drove to Midland, it was $350.
So see, that's what I'm getting at, because when I went to Dallas, or to DC, you know, if I drove to Albuquerque, I think I could have gone round trip for about $800 on Southwest. If I left from here, it was like $1,200 each way. You know, I mean, that, I went from here but that's, it's a lot of difference. I mean, you know, so I mean, that's one thing, I think that's something to, when we look about ways to increase air traffic here, you know, I think that the cost is something that needs to be part of the discussion. You know, the cost to the public. I mean, because that drive more people away from here than no matter what kind of planes we got here.
And I think Matt kind of touched upon competition makes a big difference. And the consultant that we visited with in Dallas a month ago, you know, opened my eyes about Denver. Specifically, that United has twice as many end destinations going to the west out of Denver versus what American has out of Phoenix.
I mean, you don't like flying to, and they got Lewis's horses out front. You know, the weather is so hard in the winter going through there. I mean, you get stuck there pretty easy.
So right now, if I booked a ticket for Thursday to go to Dallas, it's $401.
One way from here.
800 round, well, depends on when I come back, of course. And that airplane isn't full. I checked the seats. It is wide open. So, you know, that's a function of fuel and labor and everything. But
Well, I think we have another issue with American. I think did any of the flights go out on time yesterday?
No.
You know, the service is just getting pitiful.
Well, once
Why didn't
we
they
got
go?
the CRJs back, everything's been back. After the
So-
175 left, we have no idea.
did you break down? They have breakdowns?
We've had.
Weather's going to be a problem, of course. And maintenance is a problem.
Maintenance. I want the 175 back. That was on time. They got out usually late because it was a bigger aircraft and folks didn't really know how to operate it to get it out on time. It was, and then the pilots, another thing, they wouldn't call that they're off the ground until it was a little later than normal. So they didn't win any awards for on time. But those flights went out. And the CRJs, we had one out there earlier, it's gone now. It's been here for a couple of days.
From my experience with delays, and this is bigger airplanes, of course, and I'm sure it could be calculated down to smaller airplanes. But for example, a 737 delayed 15 minutes on the gate cost an airline $42,000 every 15 minutes, and it just multiplies. And then when it cancels, it goes into the hundreds of thousands of dollars. So it's not that they're just like willy-nilly like, oh, we don't care. It costs them a ton of money when they're delayed or canceled because crew, maintenance, whatever. It's a huge expense, and it adds up very fast. The biggest problem that I see the airlines are having right now is maintenance crews. They're short on those bigger. They are flight attendants and pilots right now. They can't get enough people to fix the airplanes anywhere. Huge shortage of that. So there's going to be problems, and it doesn't matter. You can fly Southwest. You can fly, even if you're going to run into the same group of problems. It's just an industry problem.
I wish we could double the size of the school.
Gotta get the students. Give them incentives.
No, I mean, you're right. You're actually, I mean, that's, the more people you can get into it, but when, right now an airline mechanic will start at about $112,000 a year, right out of school.
Start?
Yeah.
I thought we were talking 65 or something just a couple of years ago.
You were. It's now about 112 to start. They're getting, I'm just saying that's, they're gonna pay those guys between, $42, $45 an hour to start now. To Play dominoes. That's what they get paid.
That word has got to get out to the high schools.
It's, you know,
Okay,
that's an airline though. See, they got to get in with an airline. The airlines are hurting, so they're hiring.
Jennifer, let's move forward to air parking, please.
uh, 2023. Every April, don't have the full amount reports in yet. So currently for April, we have 119 versus 230.
So the most current month that we've got accurate data is March at
March.
152 versus 233.
I tell you what, I don't see a reduction in aircraft out there.
They just haven't reported.
Think there's a reduction from 233?
If we do, it's probably 10, 15.
So
Well, they're
you're,
going to come and go.
Yeah.
so we're still average somewhere around 230
Yes.
aircraft parked.
Is there a penalty assessed against the MROs if they fail to get a report in within a couple of days after month end? If there's not, there ought to be.
There is not. Now that I'm trying to help out since Lisa's gone, I have been emailing them and saying I wanted them before this meeting so they'd be accurate. And
Is that a tough thing to get those reports in? So say, I bet theirs is in on time.
No, it was late.
and I sent it back.
But it was late.
He was trying to be nice. And
Yeah.
Take the win.
No, it was late because I had people off, so, you know, I got one person taking care of it, and that person was gone for 2 weeks.
I did send it back.
I saw it.
I want my
So that, how many tenants does that actually go to? 4?
No, we are looking at about 7.
That have aircraft parked out here.
Yes.
Okay.
So, the next one's the revenue and expense. So for the month of May, we are in the negative. The dump plow hit this month or in May, so we paid that out. So our revenue was $735,268. Our expenses were $896,350, which left us in the negative $161.
Negative 161,000.
Correct.
Okay.
The next item is the project list. I've handed you the project list. This is current and up to date. The items in the status position in the red are the items that were approved in the budget. So there should be 6 total.
When will they start the taxiway for the BLM?
We are just fixing, and Dave, do you want to speak on that? Yeah.
Yeah, so we're getting ready to finalize the design for that right now. We have we're waiting on structural engineers, to concrete box culverts, down there, cast in place. We're getting ready to bid that in the next, I'd say 2 to 3 weeks from now. But we're talking about it, it's going through the final design phase right now.
Oh, you're not bidding, you haven't bid it out yet, so we don't have it. Oh, okay.
It's getting ready.
How long is the bid time?
We're giving it, well, we were talking, we might give it about a month, just because it's a pretty expensive project. To get contractors, because we're talking to contractors this week, and some of them are pretty busy, and we're trying to get a fair bid for It works though.
Mayor, we're gonna try and get that in, minimum 4 weeks if we can, 5.
How long do you project it will take once they start to do it? You guys have that?
75 days.
90 days.
Okay.
90 days.
We'll do it in 2 phases so that we clear out taxway Kilo and open up taxway Kilo and taxway Bravo. So that that'll be 10 days.
Do you have a conceptual design of that?
Yes, sir.
I would sure like to see what the more firmed up picture looks like. So that's going to be a big help right there, having that little.
So they'll be in, when will they be in, when do you think they'll be in and being able to use it?
Next fire season.
We'll get it built now.
Jennifer, I see we've got our GASB grant on here
Correct.
lined out.
It is on the project list. We do have a grant for that. That does total 1.6 million between the feds, the state, and the local share. So that would be, we would be coming back to you and requesting authorization if our new air service consultant finds an airline that wants to start operating. We can use those funds for the minimum revenue guarantee. We can also use them on the consultant's fees, and some advertising.
Okay. If we have the funds, and of course, 650,000 of that is City of Rossville,
Correct.
which I doubt we've got.
I would suggest that if and when we do that, that we go back to our consortium of our teacher calls that we do so, and request that they participate
In the revenue guarantee?
in the 650.
In our portion of it.
Do we know how much we had to pay for the Phoenix flight? And any time we had revenue guarantee on that? Does anybody know? Remember how much? I don't think we ever had to pay.
I don't know, I wasn't.
They think the minimum revenue guarantee on that was $6,200 per flight,
I don't.
something like that.
I thought we had.
I don't recall
I thought we
having to call on the other communities.
Yeah, I think we got away with it, man. I mean, we didn't have to pay, even though it was there.
There was enough traffic on it, so.
I think you could probably have 5 flights a day out of here and keep them pretty full.
Any questions from board members on the various projects?
The ones in red are the ones that are approved for funding, right?
Under status, correct.
Okay, cool. That's awesome. But none of them are moving forward yet. None of them have been. None of them are in work.
I'll jump around, but the Southeast Water Line, that went out proposals Sunday.
Oh, okay.
So the ITB is out on that one.
Oh, so it's actually out for bid then?
That one is out for bid, and opening date would be July 9th.
Does that have sewer with it?
Yes.
Oh, really? Flushing toilets.
Well, if you take water, you gotta have a place to put it.
Spray it out on the ground.
Well, you have to get a tree.
You can plant them. That's cheap.
You get bushes, Bobby wants bushes.
Just let it evaporate.
That smell good, man.
Smell of money.
Any other questions or comments on Project C?
So does the city council need to take action to move that from the rub hanger to the water line to move that
I
along?
understand they don't, because the way the wording was in that web hanger, it was for infrastructure. So both project, it could just be moved to a new project. And Tess can correct me if I'm wrong.
Yeah, we just had to, we had to allocate some money immediately. And the rub hanger was the cause du jour, so that we would appropriate enough money to keep the group legislative money.
But the rub hanger is not on the auction block.
No, it isn't.
Okay.
Yeah, we still can't find any bites on that one.
Did the state reimburse the city for the purchase of the hangar yet?
No, it was, as far as I know,
It was a city
it
deal.
was a city
Yeah,
deal.
that was, yeah, so, well, we can talk offline if you want the skinny on that.
No, that was just a
We
city deal.
needed a white elephant, we didn't have one.
Very good.
Okay.
EDA
White
grant,
hippo? Is that better?
we're still looking for an owner for that. I did talk to Brian Hancock with Kathy yesterday. He's still interested in it. Apparently him and Mr. Spiritu are going back and forth and working some kind of a deal on that grant. But we're still trying to find a home for that.
For the 84?
For, yeah, the EDA grant, there's 2.7 million grant we have for that. It's 100% match.
Isn't it
There's
tied,
no match.
isn't it tied with 30 jobs or something?
It was tied,
35.
40.
40 jobs.
We have been having conversations with the grant administrator probably every 2 weeks or so, and we're trying to come up with something with her help to not lose this grant. We've discussed options of maybe using it for the terminal to expand, a couple of other side projects. And I think we're scheduled next week again with another discussion with her.
So that expires in September of 26.
26, correct,
Right.
yes.
So if we're gonna use it for terminal expansion or something similar to that, that's gotta happen.
It's gotta happen.
In
We
the
have
next
a
6
narrative.
months.
We have to provide them. There's some paperwork that goes along with it to change the scope.
So other than just having it on our list, what are we doing to determine can those 2.7, can it benefit what we think we need to do to the terminal?
Well, we're having discussions with her. She has not said we could use it for that, but she was going to be looking into it the last couple of times we've talked about it.
So we can't do any planning until the grant administrator says you can use it for that.
And then we just have to do the paperwork to change the scope.
Okay. Identify, change.
So for reals though, we can't do any planning. We can't have the engineers looking at something.
Well, a line item, 3 items down, there's $1,980,000 or 2 million appropriation for the terminal expansion.
Yeah, that's still there. That was the state allocation from the appropriations grant that was given to the city.
So if you add that
So
to
we
that,
have-
you got almost
We
5.
have that, but that probably won't be enough to design.
Just a new design?
Surely it wouldn't take that much.
Oh,
I've
To
applied for a
design an
1.5 discretionary. I haven't heard anything back on that. I'm still waiting for the ATP to come out. I believe that's going to be in July.
you know, we know that we're gonna need to expand our holding area. You know, to hold, the baggage.
So
Would
I'm
be
working with
helpful, but-
Armstrong as well, and we're trying to get ahead of that and do the paperwork, send it into the FAA for a CADX, which I just received yesterday, so we were going over discussing that this afternoon. So I will probably go ahead and sign the documents and send them off to FAA. So a little bit ahead of the
You're gonna have to have free inspection lines. TSA inspection lines down, you gotta have 3 of them. just because it takes a minute to pitch, you got 180 people, that's 3 lines.
Well, and again, we could extend the glass out
Yeah, out
to the
wall.
south. It's probably the cheapest thing we can do to be ready by September of
So I think-
2025.
Talking with Tim just a few minutes ago, I wanted to know how far it would go, and it would probably go, the extension would go to the end of the canopy.
Well, the nice thing about that is you could build one side, still use the canopy for aircraft, move over to the other side, build it. You could be under construction and still operate the airport in the present condition.
How much would the city's portion be under those two if they could both be allocated for, or earmarked for expansion?
Well, the terminal expansion number 15, that $2 million,
Uh-huh.
that is 100%.
100% state, right? So no city input into that.
Yeah, that first 2 million is free.
Okay. And then the
The city
2.787,
taxpayer.
2.7 is also,
I love how bureaucrats spend money.
so 2.787 is state?
The
Or federal.
2.787 is federal, but again, it has to be consistent with the original application that included 40.
Unless we get it changed.
Well,
Is that a
we talked with
possibility?
her about that as well, because
She's
as
going
it
to overlook
expands,
some
there's
of
going
the
to be
jobs,
more
but-
people in TSA. So the airline will have more people. Probably, we know what isn't going to be 40, but at this point, they kind of seem like they're willing to work with us. We can get
what
this.
about the construction team? Does that count? Okay, I'm just curious. you know.
Yeah, no,
No,
that's-
that's-
we asked. Lots of construction jobs.
You can hire a whole lot of janitors.
So Jennifer, how far away from any kind of a decision to turn the engineers on for design? I mean, are we 3 months out? Are we 6 months out?
I think that's a conversation I need to have with the city management.
Wasn't there a drawing at one time with that concept already done?
Yeah, we've
Yeah,
got drawings for
We
it.
went over it.
But the drawing was more elaborate than what we're talking about right now. To get
I-
something
Right.
like this far.
I think if we could ask Armstrong to give us just a rough estimate of the holding area, a separate estimate for the baggage, and the TSAs would be a part of the holding area needs. So, just so we can give the city an estimate of what it would take if we have to pick and choose.
Do the TSA jobs count?
Yes,
Because you're gonna
I think
probably,
we looked at
double or
maybe
triple.
like 30 million to spend.
no,
You're gonna have to do something with baggage over and start, because it's.
Well,
30
it's
million
gotta
was
be
a
done
total
less than
redo.
that.
I'm sorry?
30 million was a total redo.
Yeah, it can't be that much.
Yeah, there was, on that report, there was a phased section of it. And it gives a breakdown of exactly, I believe what you're saying, Mr. Titchrock, like baggage this much, holding it and stuff like that.
Do you remember what those?
I can't, I'm sorry.
Let's bring that back for next meeting. Armstrong.
Yeah, we'll
Okay.
take a look at it. We could do a brief.
Okay.
I would say if you expanded it though, I would do 2 stories up. Just so you have the ability to put jet bridges in later. Plan for the
Even if
future.
you did the structure to support it without closing in the second story.
Yeah, just make it so that you could add to it.
Then
That,
you
you know,
could
that
go
would
up.
be, yeah.
That'd be reasonable.
And depending on cost.
Of course.
Okay, any other comments on grants then? Okay, let's go to item number 8, Jennifer.
Okay, we've got the airport engineering RFP that's out on the streets now. We are expecting those to be back in and open proposals on June 18th
So this month,
this month.
Okay,
Currently, our engineers are contracted through the end of October.
it's a 5-year contract, 4-year contract.
And for 1 year, that way.
Okay. So if it's for 1 year, who has the option? Both?
Yeah, city has.
Both the city and the engineering firm have the option to terminate? Huh. I always thought it was a 4-year fixed contract.
No, we have extensions. It's 1 year contract with 3 1-year options.
Okay. All right, and that'll be, you said the 18th of June?
The opening of-
Okay,
Item
Number
number
9.
9 is the air service consultant proposal. As I stated earlier, those proposals are due at 2 o'clock this afternoon. And the evaluation team will meet on Thursday to evaluate and make a selection.
and that'll be public on Thursday?
No, it has to be approved by council.
Will it have to go to a committee first?
Yes.
Finance?
And more than likely it'll go to both committees because it's got money attached to it. But I did budget for it.
Yeah, if it's already budgeted, it can just go to legal. If it's upper budget, then it goes to finance.
Okay.
So
Well, hopefully
that'll
we'll
shorten
get
it.
it out.
That should shorten it to a month.
From award, yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right, strategic plan.
The strategic plan, I did talk with Kevin yesterday. They did receive a few more of both. Yes. They did receive some more back this week. And so he has, I guess there's another public meeting that occurs like 30 minutes after our scheduled meeting that we had. So they wanted to bump it up 30 minutes earlier just to have a little bit more time with us to discuss that. He did send out a change Teams meeting.
So that's now at 2:30 instead of 3,
Correct.
and that's on the 18th.
Yes.
You know what, I have a suggestion about, could you ask him to, what additional goals he's received so we can follow up with those that may not have submitted anything yet? Because that's hampering moving this along.
Yeah, either what John just said, or if he's received enough that he feels he can put something together, but if he has not received enough, we need to ding on folks.
Okay. Got it. We've discussed the SCASDAP grant. Do you have any other questions? I'm happy to answer them. If not, we have 2 vacancies on staff. We did select one and she did accept the position for the property manager. She is currently property management for Briar Ridge, has 17 years experience. So she will be starting on June 14th.
Can you give us a name yet or no?
Right.
That's what it has questions.
Okay. Michelle Sanchez.
So at least she's got some background on leases,
Yes.
but her leases are
Consumer.
residential apartment leases as opposed to commercial.
She
Okay.
does have some commercial, but mostly it's residential.
Okay. All right, Mike is not here and he's not on the line as far as I know.
Take that week off seriously.
Do what?
He's taking his week off seriously.
This is the first week he's had since last year.
He's earned a week off. I don't know. Seems like there's a lot more to do.
Wait a minute. You took a week off.
Oh, I took 2.
He's taking one. Okay, let's move to item number 14.
You still looking for tornadoes in Kansas?
There are
Dog.
tornadoes. There are tornadoes in
Yeah, you're
Kansas.
looking for your dog. You know, what's-
Well, I would like to comment on the Reno Air Races. We know we've got a lot of work to do to be ready for the pilot training in June of 2025. And they're very hopeful that the college will be a part of that, facilities that you've offered. But there's so much that we have to start preparing for with the property owners to the west of the runway. You brought up an issue about the placement of the grandstands that we've got to begin working on with our 139 rep. So those have got to become pretty big priorities for the staff to help move those issues along.
Right. And that street engineering's coming out next week. We're going to go out. We did identify some areas that are asphalt and have weeds, so we're going to try and hopefully take the blade out there, scrape them so we can move some aircraft onto that.
But are they east of 1735?
Yes.
Okay. Because what they suggested on the west side would be underneath the race course, and Reno would go nuts if they saw that.
No, we're actively looking at what we need to do to move aircraft, smaller aircraft on those and bring the heavier ones over to the concrete.
Right.
And we did meet with, or Omar did, I'm not going to say me. Omar went out and talked to the highway department yesterday. They do have a bucket course or something. So if we can take our blade out, just pile it, they would come in and help scoop it up and get the trash out. They were going to look at asking, since they don't have a blade class until November, they were going to see if they could get some help for us as well. So we're kind of on it.
Okay, well,
On that one, so Mr. Chair and Mr. Mayor, is the city planning to hire additional folks to help out with the preparation for the Reno Air Races? Or the National Championship Air Races, I should say.
Well, it's all stuff we have to figure out where we're getting them, what we're getting. So, I mean, that's.
We still haven't received Reno's information about what they want their actual footprint to be. Sure. And we still haven't, I've been waiting, I haven't heard from their council, if they have council yet, about who would own easements, lease rights, or outright fee simple for the pylons. We don't know where the pylons would go. We haven't determined, there's a lot of things up in the air depending on how much ownership, literal ownership they want, or management control they want. From the city's perspective, the more they want to run, the better. But what we are starting as far as the grandstands is we're going to get the geotech done because we know they're going out there. And then as far as dealing with the 139 people, we have something in the works that you'll like, and we can report back at the next meeting after we've done it.
yeah, but another example, the 139 folks wanted the fence moved from the east side of the taxiway to the west side, which really makes sense so the public couldn't access that taxiway. But little things
Will a
like,
temporary fence be acceptable?
well, it'll have to be.
Temporaries will.
Okay, then
Yeah,
that's all, call the fencing company, have them slap up fences.
exactly.
But again, all these are academic until we know what Reno actually wants to present to FAA.
Gotcha.
It does sound like they're.
Yeah, we're checking every box we can with the uncertainties available.
But just so the AAC board understands, what's the direction of information? Does it go from the air races to Mike?
Mike is the funnel right now,
Yeah.
unless it's the city.
The city and Mike should be getting it at the same time at this point. I mean, well, we're appreciative of EDC. EDC has no legal expectation here
There's
now.
no legal
Yeah,
standing.
the real place, we're very grateful for EDC getting the RFP, but the RFP was awarded to the city of this airport, not to EDC.
But I'm sure, considering everything that EDC has done on this, that still saves the city.
Oh, no. I mean, we also happen, EDC president happens to also be on the board of the Roswell Air Commission, so you're all part of this. But like it's the more layers between Chad and me, the longer this takes. And that's the.
Only thing we did get the pylon design, I think.
Did we get that?
Yeah, somebody said they got the pylon design.
Yeah.
So I don't know.
And Bobby was riding the race course this morning. I heard him.
Well, there's got, yeah, the communication's got to go.
Hopefully he was
to people
going
who are
slow.
gonna Make it happen.
Okay, anything else on the air races? All right, John, item number 14.
Okay, Jennifer asked me to give a brief overview of the FAA Reauthorization Act of 2024. We could spend the rest of the day and into the evening. It's 1,083 pages. Most of it deals with FAA internal administration, National Transportation Safety Board items, promoting pilot training. But the things that really impact our airport and other airports our size, AIP funding will be increased dramatically. They're allocating $650 million annually to funding and an additional $200 million annually for discretionary grants that focus on resilience and runway safety. The nebulous wording, it's hard to tell how that would filter down. If that's what it is. One of the other biggies that will help us, our AIP formula changes for airports our sizes will increase our minimum entitlement from $1 million to $1.3 million annually. And it appears that would be in effect for the next fiscal year. So hopefully that's something that could be added to the budget for the city, or at least for the airport anyway. PFC streamlining, I didn't know we were at 450 already, but Congress is mandating that the FAA, it's no longer will be an application to increase that, but a notice to the FAA, and they will be limited in their ability to say no to those requests from communities. But if we're already at 450 a passenger, then
Is that the maximum?
apparently that is the maximum right now.
And we've been at 450.
For a long time.
I was not aware of
But
that.
if we can increase above that, then they get you a little revenue that way.
One of the items that will be effective for passengers that are aggravated from delayed flights. This is a big one. And we were talking about refunds, even if a passenger buys a non-refundable ticket. If there is a flight a domestic flight delayed for more than 3 hours, the airline must refund that money
Yes. And give them
in
a ticket.
cash or a refund. If it's a domestic flight, or I'm sorry, an international flight, and there's a 6 hour or more delay, same thing applies. They're required, they have to offer a refund.
That's
The
been the rules
customer,
for a long time, though.
the passenger can choose to get a credit it'd have to be available for up to 5 years. So the problem is they're giving the FAA a year to come up with a new bureaucracy that'll manage that and push out regulations to the airlines. So don't look for it in the next couple of days.
Yeah, those rules have been in ticketing for, God, years. It just, people don't know it, that if they do that, you can demand that, but you have to ask for it. They just don't automatically give it to you.
Well, there's no question after this.
It'll be automatic. Is what they're saying.
It'll be required, and they'll levy fines if they don't follow those rules. So those are really the highlights of that act. And I can send anyone that wants the act. I'll be glad to send you that PDF if you want to look at it further.
So John, the real key on this is the AIP funding, 650 million, and then 200 million discretionary on top of that. But there's no allocation for airports our size, is there?
The AIP formula, we go from $1 million to $1.3 million.
Okay.
That's an immediate starting next year.
And that's just part of the overall funding for the.
It's embedded in that 650 million increase.
You have to apply for that now.
I don't think so. We're considered a non-hub airport. So there's large, medium, small, and we're below that based on our number of flights and size of aircraft.
Okay, any other questions of John? Thanks for digesting that 1,000+ page report.
Thank you.
All right, our esteemed attorney has item number 16.
15.
Oh, 15, sorry.
Yeah, there was a fire. It burned pretty hot. I had s'mores.
We've got a tenant here, so don't.
Yeah. No, I haven't received the final fire report. Have you guys?
No,
Yeah, I think it's gonna be a while.
June to July.
Yeah. So I don't have a ton to report to you, Mac. Have you been on the cleanup side of it at all? Or yeah, the biggest update is we're not paying insurance on it next year.
Well, that's about the same.
Yeah, so that's a bonus. But, yeah, I can't really tell you about the official cause yet. There's nothing negative that we've heard from the
And so from the tenant standpoint, everything's still just sitting there until somebody says, you can go start cleanup.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay. Since you brought up the word insurance, I took stuff to Shred Boss before this meeting. And just to put numbers for the city as to their building, which isn't a huge building. Do we have any idea how big Shred Boss's building is? 5,000 or 6,000 square feet, maybe? I don't think it's much bigger than that. Anyway, when they went into operation in 2005, he said his annual insurance was $500 a year. Last year, it was $4,000. This latest update was $16,000, the 400% increase. And by the way, ladies, he said he hadn't paid yet, but he would pay. But that's what happens to tenants, and he's not a big tenant, but a $12,000 increase, fourfold increase. that's pretty hard to do business. So my guess is this will kind of all just start going away because it doesn't impact us as tenants necessarily. And I'm hopeful that the city manager is still continuing to work on something to get something figured out, what we can do for these tenants.
Have the tenants been offered to obtain acceptable commercial insurance?
We've done that with 2 tenants to see how it went. One tenant came back and said they couldn't find it, and the other tenant said they found it, and I asked for the actual terms of the insurance, and that was a month ago, and I haven't heard back.
So not good results so far.
Yeah, and so we had a similar, the Historic Society Annex Museum, it was the same deal with them. They wanted to do their own insurance. We said, go ahead and get a quote. Here's everything that our insurance covers. And they came back and their quote was double.
Double what the city's quote was?
Mm-hmm.
Even though the city's quote went up 400%?
Well,
this past year?
Part of what's going on is how we assign insurance risk. So we have overall insurance value, and then it's divided among the tenants equally. Once we have new leases, and that's kind of how the leases presuppose it, that for certain tenants is grossly unfair because the lion's share is going to these larger groups and these larger buildings.
That being said, though, from a city to tenant, especially standpoint, is the city doing anything to keep in touch with the tenants as to the progress or process that the city's making? Because this tenant that I just dropped my stuff off asked that same question. He said, in fact, he asked, was the building that burned down, is that going to bump my insurance again?
No, that'll drop their insurance actually.
Less square footage?
Yeah, less square footage. We're not insuring the building. And a number of the buildings we're only insuring to demo value now. That was something in the past we haven't done, so we should see a drop. But the final numbers aren't back for that.
But I sure
That's
think.
what I'm saying. Insurance for that building, that price demo is.
I sure think.
Fortunately, it burned really hot, so we have a lot less to demo.
Yeah. Well, I think as a courtesy from the city standpoint to the tenants, I think as a courtesy to the tenants, we need to keep them in the loop as to what we're doing and what their options are. I mean, if you've got 2 tenants that have asked, hey, can we get our own insurance? And they can't find any, or they haven't gotten back to you, maybe that's going to be the case. Maybe nobody can get anything less expensive, but they ought to be. And I don't know whether that means that the tenant needs to go to airport staff, to the city attorney, to their city councilman. I don't know where the tenant needs to go to stay in the loop on that.
Well, if any tenant, I mean, I guess in simple terms, all these tenants have an agreement with the city through the director and the manager. So if they want to change the term of their lease, all they have to do is write an email to what their contract says. I mean, I know we're a government and we're service oriented, but this is a business relationship. I guess these are our tenants. This is a business. And I know they're uncomfortable, but if they want to change in terms because of that, they need to write a letter or an email and say, hey, I need this term changed to make my business flow.
So is that something? That something?
I agree. They got to be adults.
Is that something that airport staff needs to at least get the information? If everybody's concerned about insurance, and I don't know that they are, but if they're concerned about insurance, it sounds to me like we need to at least say, here's where we are. If you want to do something to change it, get something to us in writing.
Sure, or they could do it in writing. Yeah, I mean, if you need us to baby the tenants, we can.
I'm not saying baby the tenants. I'm saying treat them like tenants.
Not sure how we're I guess it's, the problem that city legal is having is all these tenants agree to the terms of the contract.
Sure they did. And they didn't.
And they didn't think about
They
it.
didn't.
And now they're upset about it. And
Yeah.
instead of writing a letter to the manager, the airport director, saying these terms aren't going to work for me, how do we renegotiate?
Yeah, I understand. That makes sense.
So, yeah.
But I think what he's saying is that needs to be communicated to all the tenants.
You communicate to them that if they, if they want to negotiate a lease, they do it the way you negotiate a lease. We can tell them. I guess that's what, only two have approached us, and the two that approached us, we said, yeah, show us what you got and we're happy to renegotiate. Okay. They just have to ask.
So is that something from the legal standpoint that airport staff needs to send an email out to the tenants saying, here's where we are on insurance. And if you want to make changes to your lease, get us something in writing.
No, we're under no obligation to do that. What? No, I'm sorry, we're repeating. No.
All that's gonna do is create more work. You need to give them their option. If you feel that you can obtain the insurance for a lower cost, bring it to the staff.
Can staff say that based on legal?
Sure, we can say it.
Okay.
Or you can help them communicate what you're
I
willing
mean,
to
the problem,
consider.
I'm not going to ask, at first, this isn't a legal requirement anyway, so my opinion kind of doesn't matter, but it's, yeah, never did, you know, but yeah, if the tenants don't like it, they can email the city attorney or the city manager or the airport director and say, I need to renegotiate this particular term. I don't know why we need to email them to tell them to try to renegotiate with us. I mean,
Whatever insurance you get, the municipality has a certain level of coverage that they have for every building. And that's what we get. And they have to, if we have it for the city, if that's what we have to protect the building, then they just have to get light coverage. We don't care where they get it from, as long as it's light coverage. I don't think. I mean, they'll be glad to turn them loose, but we need to make sure that we protect the building. Sure. And so that's the only thing. I don't care if they shop. Wouldn't make any difference if they shop.
Yeah, I mean, I prefer they
Right.
show up with
They just have to pay their damn bill though.
And right now, I don't think that most tenants understand that. That they can go shop.
I mean,
Maybe we should put a tenant email out explaining the
Yeah,
situation.
if they
Kind of what I've been saying.
well, if the chair of the commission would like to do that, that's his prerogative. To inform,
I
you
don't
can
have-
inform tenants
You
that they're
know,
willing.
you know as well as I do, I don't have any standing or authority.
No, but what you're asking us to do is to state what any tenant should know is you can always come to your landlord and discuss your lease terms.
Okay. All right. Let's move on.
Mr. Chair, I think part of what you're asking or saying is also as these increases are coming to these people that are occupying the buildings unannounced, shall I say.
It wasn't handled very well.
In advance of what the rate increases. Is that not what you're saying?
That's difficult. That makes it more difficult for the tenants
So
to
if the
conduct.
communication were to say, your insurance is gonna be X for next year, just put them on notice. It's up to them to decide what the heck they want. It's not the city's function, it's never the landlord's function to go tell that's business. But I think maybe if they were informed of what the new insurance rate was gonna be, then that sets a trigger on them. If they don't wanna do anything, so be it.
So having said that, when does the city have knowledge of what the rates are gonna be?
Matt, you'll have to ask the city manager.
Well,
As usual.
the last bill we paid was for this fiscal year. So it'll be after July 1, when the next bill will be coming.
So they ought to know what the rates are now.
Yeah.
So there are no surprises. It's gonna be a surprise, it's gonna be a last minute surprise.
Same thing as sheriff's authority and ask them what the rates are for these individuals that we have. for all the buildings we have here, send them out to the people, say if you can find flight coverage, do it. But you have, you gotta guarantee that you pay the bill.
Are the rates based off of the building on the airport only or the whole city? Airport.
And the other thing is these
It can't be
insurance
that much.
companies do,
They
they
have a
don't
bunch
give you
of
a 3
insurance
month.
Post a lot of
They do
stuff.
not give you a 3-month advance notice of what your rate increase is going to be. My experience working with this and over the years of all the insurance I've ever done, they give you about a month to tell you what your new rate is going to be. They don't give you this extended period of time. So your window to do something is small. And they do that on a break there's a reason they do that. So you're not going shopping. They know, they try to say, oh, well, we're waiting for the loss ratio or loss runs to see where we're at my shop's current information to quote these rates. But they wait till the last minute. We won't know for what, 30 days, 45 days prior to expiration. That's the soonest you'll know what that new rate's going to be. It's not like the city's sitting over here hiding it from these individuals. They just don't know.
And
Can the city shop the
that
insurance
means
policy too?
that now
Now
we
it's
should,
not.
we should have knowledge of those rates.
We should.
History, so.
We should
Okay.
acknowledge those rates.
All right.
It's not the city being a bad guy. That's not what this is, what you're talking about. It's just the way the system works.
Well, we had a significant delay last year though. Significant.
Well, luckily, we're behind having significant problems with the management staff that we've had
Last
in the
year.
past.
Yes.
I mean, we have times that the city didn't even bill them for the insurance, so, it's the way I understand
Yeah,
it.
we got a couple tenants that still owe us a few years of insurance.
You know, so I mean, there's been a lot of problems out here. We know that. Hopefully they're all gone. I mean, we had things that we had old cash count out here we didn't even know about. Nobody else did. So what the hell? I mean, you talk about management problems. Wasn't from us. It's from the old bunch. But I'm sure you can blame Janine. She can write you up in her book too.
Yeah. All right,
City
let's go.
self-insure themselves.
Let's go to, if we're through with the,
No, sir. One more comment.
Just for the
I
airport.
presume that Millennium, that structure will be removed from our insurance bill.
It already has.
That ought to
We
be,
don't own the building.
so that's not up to us to insure then. So that
Yeah,
hopefully would be another big risk removed.
We are on the bill.
We don't own the building.
Who owns the building?
Millennium.
Millennium.
Well,
Well, that's
Millennium's
right,
successor.
Millennium did. So that wasn't covered under our insurance at all?
No, we never paid a cent. on
Okay.
that one.
so that never went into the increase.
No, it's the same, it's the usual suspects.
So the city didn't own that building, Millennium owned that.
Yeah,
The
we-
city was renting it out.
No, we rent the
The
land
land,
underneath.
the land lease.
Yeah, so currently we're getting 15,000 a year for 2.65 acres.
Gotcha. Oh, you're talking about the big building.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the one that burned.
No, 115.
Millennium building.
Yeah, 115, we're just getting the demo value. 'Cause here's also how the self-insured fund works, is they just take your past 5 years or your past year of losses and spread it out over 5. So like the Dean Baldwin roof is going to cost us 600,000. Is that about for the most recent storm? You're speaking my language, but so about $500,000 right now is what my understanding was. And so that just means the airport, all the tenants get to split $100,000 a year among them because of that one building.
And that was one
Based,
that
prorated by square footage.
half of it blew off one week, and the other half blew off the next week. Isn't that right?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what the hell? It's a double-edged deal.
So this time we're gonna spike it down better with the new roof.
Well, let's hope.
All right,
Hope there's some metal under it to hold the spikes.
that's
The
correct.
metal's really good. It was replaced about 5 years ago.
Some chewing gum under there.
John, have you got anything else?
Thank you.
All right. Item number 16, Mr. Attorney.
All right. I think we got somebody who's interested in building a general aviation hangar on the call.
What's your update? What do you got?
So what I've got is,
Hey, little man.
hey, Stan.
You muted him.
I think somebody is muted.
I don't know.
There you go. Oh. There you go. I've seen.
There it is. How's that? Can you hear me now?
Perfect.
Yeah.
Thank you, Stan.
Go ahead, Stan.
I can't see you guys, but I think you can see me. Is that right?
Yeah, and real quick, so Stan, I owed you a couple documents. We've got a term sheet, a survey plat, and the mock lease available. After this meeting, you'll be getting those via email.
Very good. Term sheet, survey, and mock lease.
Yeah, and so if you look at the lease, is mostly reflective of the term sheet in the most favorable terms to the city, of course. So please sign it as you see fit. But the big change for you is the actual surveyed plat is 15 acres, not 10.65. And so I'm sending you that whole plat so you can see what actually works best for you. We're happy to carve it up as necessary.
Okay, good.
And then the term sheet's going to have your standard due diligence for our side as part of the terms. So you have fiscal statements, good standing certificates, who the executive team would be managing.
You don't
things
have
like
a picture of that plat.
Not on, no.
Do you know which one it was? There was two of them.
This is the 15-acre one, not the 10-acre one.
For the general aviation hangar?
Wait, general aviation?
That's what it says.
This is large hangar.
So the general aviation hangar.
So we're not on 16 then, Mr. Chairman?
We are, but this is a large hangar. This is the 90,000.
This is the
90,000 square foot hangar. It says general aviation, but this is a 90,000 square foot hangar.
Okay, that's what you're working on.
Yeah.
This isn't for the general aviation.
Not the 100 hangars that would go over by now.
Okay.
So that's in that I can update on.
See, in aviation terms, that means little airplanes, general
Yes.
aviation.
Well, we're going to put a ton of little airplanes in the big one.
Well, we need to talk about the general aviation ones too. Because that's going to be, that one I've had a rumor that it's ready to go.
We don't have the developer for the general aviation hangar on the, no. This is the developer who was here in our meeting, last meeting, and he's going to build a 90,000 square foot hangar immediately south of Dean Baldwin.
Also general aviation hangars.
He had expressed interest in both. Let's let him talk, so we know what he's.
Sure. Thank you so much for opening up the meeting today. So the 90,000 square foot hangar, we have our drawing made for the building itself. So we're putting together all of the numbers and all the details for that. I did ask Hess for the lease, so I'm glad you'll send that over. We'll take a look at that. And I'm glad we talked about insurance today too. That would be something that we'd want to make sure of. I've talked to Matt about the fire, and we have our own fire people that are going to design the fire suppression for that specific building. And they're also working on the GA hangars too. And we know that if we're going to have, I was thinking about some of this money that the city has available, or the airport, and I was thinking about 20 jobs for, I think it was 2.7 million. And so if we put Group 3 sprinklers in the GA hangars, the big hangar will produce about 300 jobs total. The general aviation hangars, it wouldn't be immediately, but over time as we built them out, if we put the qualifying fire suppression in, we could have 20 or 30 businesses out there for every probably 40 hangars that we build, and each business would have, who knows how many people that would operate out of that business, because inside the lease, which I haven't talked to Hess about yet, as long as there can be welding, soldering, painting, doping, and those kind of things within those hangars, if we were able to say, okay, you provide the power and the sewer and the water,
and the pavement. We pay for our concrete and our building out of our pocket. Then we bring the new owners of the buildings. The leases will have to be assumable. We'll have to transfer the lease to the new owner of the building, which the building they will own. And then they could operate their business out of that building, and that's potentially a way to have the city put in the power, sewer, and the water and the paving to start the process on the hangars. We did Cisco, Matt and Cisco got together and quickly relayed out the plat such that if you have an airplane in a hangar, you always want your airplane to either face north or south in the southwest. We had them set up east-west. You don't want to open up your hangar in the summertime to a hot sun on your windshield and heat your hangar up or heat your airplane up to 150 degrees when you get in it to crank up and go. So we made that change. That's good. And I'm trying to think about how can we potentially help the city or the airport there, Cairo, get this money in play into something that is actually going to bring jobs, which the mayor and I spoke earlier today. We had a great conversation. Thank you, Mayor Jennings. I've spoken to Mike about this multiple times. And so for these GA hangars, I do see an opportunity to produce 100 jobs out there with these hangars. And that will be an expense on us to upgrade the hangars to make them suitable for the fire code, according to Matt. And there's some other things that Matt's looking into us for as well on the GA hangars. If we were to TI some of the hangars, put in, you know, a little kitchenette type thing and a couch or a bed so that you could fly into Roswell, park your airplane, have a little AC inside a little casita inside your hangar. So it's a one-stop shop. Or if you're going to do business out there in the hangar, and that way these small guys could be contracted to the MROs. There's just all kinds of business that could flourish out there inside the general aviation hangars. So trying to think about how can we get the pads, which we would be leasing pads in a sense, owning our own buildings, and then once we get them developed, sold to this prospective buyers who would be including of business owners. How do we make all that work together? So that's what I'm presenting to you today for the GA hangars.
Thank you. So if I'm getting correct, you would want to, so what would you have, like would you have an underlying holding corporation that would hold the lease on the property and then sell the buildings to the people on top? And then for maintenance of the communal areas, would that be on the city or would that be on the hangar owners?
Yeah, so the way I see this potentially is we would be a Wyoming LLC, and then each building that we would build would be its own separate autonomous owned building until the new owner assumed the ownership via the lease. So we build them, they buy them, we build them on a lease, a 45-year lease with a renewable 45-year, which is, yeah, I'm sure you guys are all familiar with bank financing. Most banks don't like to loan on leases, so they like to loan on ground. That way they own not only the ground, but the building. So this is a unique build out. And the lease, you're right, Hess, the lease has to work for us as well as the city. And the insurance, I'm glad we talked about this today, the insurance has to work for us as well as the city.
So long as the buildings aren't owned by the city, the insurance is the property owner's business entirely. We only get in the business of insurance when we own the buildings.
Right, and so in the case that you were talking about today with the owners on, or the business owners on the buildings, you own those buildings and you oversee the insurance of those
buildings. I get it.
Correct. Yeah. And so for what you're proposing, the insurance would, I mean, we'd have minimum insurance just to, make sure if there was a fire that we can clean up our land, something like that. But otherwise, it's on the owner.
Right, and that's why we're in front of this with the fire, Matt and our fire suppression people building that in so that the insurance won't be outrageous, but at this, it will be sufficient for someone if they do want to have a business there. Sure. Go ahead.
And let me make sure I understand. As the general aviation hangars are built by you, and then those would be sold to somebody to store their aircraft in it or operate a business out of it, then you're saying that that site that the building sits on that you built, you're saying that site becomes part of the new owner's property and not the city's property?
No. No. The building does. The land lease.
Just the building.
Yeah. So yes, I would foresee a hangar association so that all the people that own the hangars individually, autonomously, on a ground with a lease signed with the city would understand these are the terms of the lease for the city. And the city, in order to make this happen, brought the power, brought the sewer, brought the water, and they paved the taxiways out to the entrance onto the existing concrete there by 91, by building 91. So that's the city's part. In order to lease something, if you were going to go to an Airbnb, you wouldn't say, yeah, rent your Airbnb, and then when I get there, I'll build it. No. So the Airbnb is ready for you to rent when you get there. So in this case, the city has the power and the sewer and the water stubbed, and then the paving, and then we pour the concrete, and then we put in our own fire suppression, and then we do the TIs in the buildings accordingly. The primary being to get up the steel for the hangars, and then follow through with whatever improvements we're going to do inside the hangars. So the reason I'm telling you all this, Hess, and council here or the board, is because we want to make sure that we can do this in the lease. Otherwise, I don't know that this is going to be something that we're going to be able to do, but I see it happening for the city. I see it happening for the airport, and I do see it happening for us. So I'm just laying out the vision.
Yeah, so that's what you've described is substantially similar to what the city of Albuquerque is doing out at Double Eagle. And so that's a very workable model for a city to do. A lot of details would need to be worked out, of course, but I'm look forward to working with you on it.
Okay, good.
Okay, any other questions either on the large hangar or the general aviation hangars?
Well, we really only talked about the GA hangars by 91. What are the specifics on the large 90,000 square foot hangar on the old Mystic, or not Mystic, AVEX pad?
Are you asking me or?
Well, yeah, yes. Any difference on that? Would you be transferring or wanting to sell ownership of that to a ultimate buyer as well, or?
Well, we certainly would want to reserve the right to do that. Ideally, we are in another part of the aviation business model. So we also buy and lease and exchange aircraft parts. So ideally, in 80,000 square foot building, we would be vertically integrating our model into our own building, and then also using that hangar as a transfer while we were beginning construction on the next hangar, which we would lease out on a long-term lease, and then do the same on the next hangar. So we have the primary hangar there for the purpose of
blessing rah-rah, blessing the airport and the rest, use that as a transient hangar so that we could use it for the June practice sessions for rah-rah and also for the September races for rah-rah. And we would be able to accommodate 30,000 square feet of that, which I've talked to Mike about for rah-rah. They would like to lease, I think, that 30,000 feet. Realize Mike's on a well-deserved vacation right now, so I'm not, other than just saying hi to him, that's all. I haven't brought too much more of this, but we will need to get together with rah-rah on that and get that in the plans. So that's where we're on that. Is that layout a vision for you so you understand? And then if we did.
Stan, is that pad, would it accommodate more than one 90,000 foot hangar?
I haven't received the survey on that pad to know for sure. Do you know how the number? So obviously the buildings.
The short answer is yes or no, depending on layout, but presumably you'd also need parking and some other accoutrement around the hangar.
Right. So obviously it would be 90. And then I can foresee us having.
You could probably put another 30,000 on there then.
Okay. And we even thought we've thought about trying to work with you on the hangar that you bought, and include.
It's kind of a weird size.
It is. It has a small door. We looked at the different aircraft that it can accommodate. So the door is a limiting factor on that particular hangar. We may come up with some other uses for that hangar. So I'm not making any promises on that hangar. I know it's been in storage for a couple of years now, and I believe it has a lifetime on the material that you use to skin it. So that's something we're willing to work with you on, and we're thinking about, but we don't have a definite plan for that building at this point.
And we've got Armstrong Engineering here, and I know they've had that site that you're talking about, the 90,000 square foot hangar. And prior to all of this taking place, if I remember right, there were 2 large hangars that could be situated on that site.
Correct. We have 290,000.
Okay. Oh. All right. So yeah. So that site will accommodate 2 large hangars like you're wanting to build. And
okay.
So the location of where you build obviously needs to be gone through Armstrong Engineering so that we make sure we can fully utilize that site.
Agreed. Yeah. Hess, do you know if you have a survey, or do you have the plans, or just do you have, obviously somebody there has Armstrong's contact? I could look.
Yeah, no, we can send you. I'll throw in with what I send you a couple of the old Ascent layouts, just so you can get an idea of what they had phase 1 and then phase 2, A, B, and C, something like that. So I'll shoot you a few maps over. I mean, like it's primo land. You've seen it. And, right. Up to 15 acres for you to play with.
Okay.
One time, I think though the concrete stuck to the ground good enough over there that we could have engine run-ups over there somewhere they looked at. So I mean, I don't know, isn't that right?
Yes, we were looking at one of the trees on the north side.
I mean, we have to have engine run-up somewhere, so every place else keeps.
And we'll have to have it because we can't do it on the south side. Once the BLM taxiway goes in, that north side's gone. So we have nowhere. So we need to leave one of those trees open for the instrument.
And we just have to put a blast wall up around it.
Yeah, this doesn't affect that. This is open by 90.
No, they're talking about the Christmas tree.
No.
That was ever something else.
This is on the Ascent side.
And
Pardon
happy
me.
to talk to you offline, Stan, but is your financing private equity? Do you have banks?
Private equity. And I was gonna ask you, is there any way I can see you guys? I just see a blank screen.
Well, you're working with government, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, you ought to be able to double click on that and expand it.
On
There
my
you
end?
go. No. Can you see us now?
No.
So, no, because there's a green line around the
I see a general aviation here. I see a mouse clicking.
sharing window. Okay. How
I'll
about
double
now?
click it again.
We had green boxes around us. You should be able to see us now. Is that correct?
I see a camera, but it does have a line through it. It's like a little, it shows a line through it.
It may not work, Stan. We need to move on.
Yeah, that's fine. Okay.
Okay, any other comments, discussion, reference, either the GA hangars or the large hangar?
Did everyone understand the GA hangar plan? Did you understand what he said there? That,
Outline number one.
yeah, you understood that, right? Everybody got the concept about that. Somewhere, maybe some of this money that we have here could be moved over to put some taxiways in around those hangars. That's gonna have to be done for him to move forward with that part of it.
We'll have to discuss allocation of that.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Is that more important than having space for people to come in and out of the terminal?
I think they're equally important.
Well, we have,
Then we gotta get some more money.
we get some money from the legislature, we can figure this out. There's ways to do it. So if with Reno, there's gonna be some avenues open, they're gonna open up with us for some of that. The general aviation is something that our air center generally, that we really need some decent facilities here. I mean, for general aviation, there's no reason to have these kind of runways and stuff like that, and nobody can use the damn thing because they go to Artesia.
Okay, next item on the list is the Aviation Museum, item number 17.
Sure. There's going to be an aviation museum. We're very excited about it. Now, the group that's putting it together still would not like their name publicly mentioned because they're acquiring airplanes, so they don't want to get gouged. But which they probably will anyway. But I'm going to respect that. The long and short of it is a large foundation is planning on opening a substantial aviation museum that will be over 50 acres in size, in close proximity to the airport. We've entered into a preliminary MOU with them that will hopefully blossom into an FAA copacetic lease and entry in and out of the gate contract. They have already started working with the county, since the land is technically in the county. We hope that we have a formal announcement in September once all the ink is dried on the legalese. But it is really substantial in size and it would be tens of millions of dollars in investment in the area.
Well, you need to get a release for the Bud Kunkel wing. They wanted to put in.
I mean, anytime you want to come to my office and see the schematics, you're welcome.
We're looking
On
at
the slide,
a
I've
wing just
seen
for
the
you.
schematic.
You and Toto.
But so they're nonprofit. But they've incorporated a separate group in New Mexico that would be responsible for construction and management of the site. So they expect an announcement in September.
So, Mr. Chair, Mr. Attorney said it would be privately owned, right?
Privately owned.
It's not city, county land, right?
It's privately owned, but in county jurisdiction. But they will be coming through our airport for obvious reasons. They've already acquired 3 planes.
Real close. Across the road.
You don't keep a secret word.
Let's go to the next item here, Mr. Mayor.
Sure.
Item number 18, unless anybody's got any more questions. Okay. Item number 18, water line update.
Like I explained earlier, the ITB was released Sunday. Bids will open on July 9th. And it does include the sewer line.
Yep. So, and then we will be negotiating some pretty firm deadlines. We'd like to have this thing finished by July 3rd or June 30 of next year if possible.
So at our next meeting, can we get a map of where this is going to go?
Mr. Chairman, this is Louis Nahad. Can you read me?
Hey.
Yes, Louis.
Louis.
I'm back. As Jennifer said, we will open bids July 9th. And so it'll go to infrastructure in July. It'll go to August for award of the bids for the water line. And the water line project's not that complicated. What will be the kicker will be delivery of materials, especially for 14-inch size water line. And the sewer line, an update on that, that's going to Finance Committee Thursday. And then council will award the design at July council. And we'll get the contract going. HDR had the lowest price on design, and we'll get that one going too. So we're rock and rolling with the utilities.
So next meeting, Louis, if we could have a map for location and termination of where these lines terminate, please.
We can do that.
Thank you.
They have to have a gas line too, a gas line and internet access. Sometimes, that's not going to go in the same hole though.
No. Any other questions on the southeast corner water line update? All right, Mac, item number 19.
So, building 1081 was originally constructed in 1954, with a storage addition in 1970 and an office addition in 1980. So it's approximately 76,000 square feet. In 2017, the roof over the 1954 original construction was replaced and is still under warranty. It was approximately 31,000 square feet. And then this year, we replaced the roof on the rest of the building. As far as I could tell, the structure is okay, no known issues. So all of the things that the city is typically responsible for in a lease, we're in pretty good shape on. Some just general challenges facing any potential tenant would be the building requires some sort of life safety health upgrades based on occupancy, fire alarm, fire suppression. There may be quite a bit of hazardous material abatement and selective demolition. Again, based on how you use the building and the potential tenant. Another big issue is for all 76,000 square feet, there's one set of utility meters, which makes a lease for smaller tenants harder to justify economically. So if you were to renovate the 1980 office addition, which is roughly 29,000 square feet, that could easily be a multi-million-dollar project, and the utility costs would eat up a big chunk of your lease revenue. So stand for any questions on 1081.
So the functional usability of the building right now is pretty limited. Storage, dry storage, that's about it. Because the roof's satisfactory, right?
The roof is good, yeah.
Okay, so dry storage. But as far as usability for any other purpose, you could spend who knows how much money to turn it into office space and or warehouse space or manufacturing space.
Could be the net center for Raw Raw.
Is there, do we have any knowledge of the infrastructure on the building, HVAC, electrical, plumbing, that kind of thing?
You know, it's really a mixed bag. It's hard to get an idea of that, but I imagine it's pretty dated, and it would vary based on the different vintage of the building. It's composed of 3 different vintages, so it's hard to get a handle on.
So really what I hear you saying is, unless the city comes into a bundle of money, the usability of that building for anything beyond somebody needing to store aircraft parts in it or something is not an option right now. Unless they want to put their own money into it. Okay. That's not great news. But I'm sure we've got other buildings like that also. Probably not that big though. This is the biggest non-functional building we've got out here.
It is. It's hard to do even to store it, just because I don't think there's a freight elevator in it, right? You'd have to walk stuff upstairs.
Well, you wouldn't store upstairs to start with. I'm sure there's a lot of ground floor space too.
You know, yeah. But I know there was a business in there one time, and they did have a lot of parts, aircraft parts, in the second floor.
Of course, that would be up to the tenant that occupied the space.
Right. They did, but they had to walk them up the stairs.
Okay. Well, most folks aren't going to do that today.
Yeah.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, they're just.
So from the staff standpoint, building 1081, basically I hear you saying we keep the roof on it so it doesn't deteriorate, and we just leave it there and hope that somebody decides they can use it for something. Is that our best guess?
You'll get a Casa Bonita in there.
Okay. All right, any other questions on 1081? Number 19. Okay, we're making some progress. Mac, number 20, insurance wind claim 2024.
So our most recent insurance wind claim affected 3 buildings. Building 1770, a strip of about 160 feet of roof peeled back off the edge. We have an agreed upon price with the self-insured fund or insurance company and the contractor. But we also filed a warranty claim as that roof is still under warranty. It was replaced in 2018. And we're pending the manufacturer's report on that warranty claim. They were out here looking at it on May 23rd. The other building that was affected, Hangar 84, we had 10 to 12 sheets of metal panel that was damaged or blew off. We have an agreed upon price with the contractor and the self-insured fund. So that should be finished up this month, in the next month or so. The major damage of occurred at 1083 or the Dean Baldwin hangar. We have fully mitigated all of the damage on that roof. We've secured it with mechanical fasteners. 80% of the roof has these new mechanical fasteners. We've also made it watertight. We went back and sealed all of the joints and any sort of vents we made to keep it from blowing off. We don't have an agreement with the self-insured fund yet on the final putback, but it is secure and it is watertight and it has held up pretty well. We've had some light rain and a couple of leaks since the damage occurred, and we've taken care of those leaks. In one area, we were just lacking some seal on a couple of joints. They were a little bit slow getting tape from their manufacturer. And then another leak occurred because of a roof drain that they didn't cover. They didn't think it would affect very much, and so we went back and we covered that roof drain. So it should be watertight. The roofer has kind of turned his attention to other insurance claims that have a hard deadline. So I'll stay for any questions on those claims.
So Dean Baldwin right now is at least satisfied as they're painting. They shouldn't have too much water get in on the paint job.
Yeah, I think the leaks we had were fairly minor in nature. We've taken care of the more important bays, and we've worked with their maintenance staff in doing that. And we should have some of the kinks worked out on sealing the damage.
And then at one point after the initial wind damage, if I remember right, we had vents that were up there and a couple of those fell through the roof. Has that been taken care of, so we're not going to have anything else fall through the roof on this thing?
Yeah, so Dean Baldwin Maintenance secured those, and so the vents are pretty large, and what came down was some of the wood framing structure that the vents attached to. That structure was fairly old, and so there were just a couple of sections where the wind really rattled those vents, and a little bit of that wood structure came down. But since the roof is secure, we're kind of through the windy season. Dean Baldwin Maintenance re-secured those vents, and we should be okay.
Okay. All right. Okay. Any other questions of Mac on the most recent insurance claim on those 3 buildings? Okay, let's go to item number 21, Jenna.
All right, so on the HAM claim from 2021, we are finishing up with the awards for White Rock Construction. They were able to complete T Hangar 120 since the last time we met until now, and they are over 80% done with Air Sales Hangar, and we've been working very diligently on getting that done as well. The last 3 items we have left to finish are Building 735, the DOT, which is between 50 and 60% complete. I've been invoiced already on that percentage. 1083A, the building next to 1081, is 95% complete, and then 1081, which Mac had already talked about, is 99% complete. Allen Roofing is the contractor on those 3 buildings. Obviously, we had to share the contractor a little bit to get involved in taking care of effectively. So it delayed the hail claim roofs a little bit to do that. But I'm working on the final payouts with McLaren's and New Mexico Self-Insured Fund. So
And because we've gone beyond the end of May deadline, we're still okay as
we're
far
still
as funding?
okay. Yeah, we've been, I think the main issue was just not having updates and current communication with them constantly. So with us maintaining our communication and them understanding that we had to pull our contractor to go take care of a mitigation, we've been able to keep everything moving. So then the wind claim.
Let's give me
Sure.
give me a drop dead for the hail claim completion.
June 30th. They have to have it done because they don't want to carry POs over.
Okay.
I made that promise, so hope my contractor doesn't leave me hanging.
All right.
On the wind claim of 2023, Building 610, the New Mexico Youth Challenge's roof has been completed. Mac and I did a walkthrough on it last week, and we're ready to issue final payment on that. So we'll get reimbursement on the depreciation of that claim this year. And then we're working with New Mexico Self-Insured Fund directly, along with McLaren's, to expedite Hangar 84. 1083's metal and Hangar 85 had some small damage on one side of their hangar, with the option to pay the contractor directly to assist us with not having to go through the city procurement process. So we don't have everything finalized with that yet, but we're very close, and we're hoping that will be our option.
And drop dead completion on the wind claim.
I will have a report for you next meeting, but I'm anticipating that we'll be with the option to direct pay by then, or we'll be going through city procurement, which will require us to utilize our budget here.
So does that mean August of this year? Is that what that means?
Depending on whether I have to take this through committees and get approval or get a budget authority for it. At this point, it hasn't been requested.
And if it goes that long, that doesn't negatively impact insurance benefits that the city has. Okay. All right. Any questions of Jenna on these 2 items? Okay, let's go to item number 23, update on vacant properties.
Okay. So our vacant properties have remained consistent. We haven't had any changes to them, except for that I was notified on Friday that the Badlands Saints are going to not renew their lease. They are vacating by the 30th of June. So 734 will be vacant. So they were just not able to handle with the increases of the insurance and the rent and a decrease in their membership. They were not able to generate enough funds to continue staying in the building.
So that goes vacant when?
June 30th.
This month. And that building is pretty small. That's only a couple thousand square feet.
2,000 square feet.
Okay. All right. So no other changes on any of our vacant properties then?
No.
Yes.
What was your plan or this group's plan to market these vacant properties, and how do you get them out to the marketplace?
So there's a couple things that are going on, but basically airport staff is working with EDC, and EDC has a website, and that stuff is available to the world. As far as billboards or sending emails out to somebody or something else, it's there's not anything that's taken place on that. I mean, it's basically a combination of airport city staff and EDC staff working together.
How successful has it?
So far, we don't have much success at all.
So that's not much of a plan. It's insanity.
Well, it's not
You're doing the
insanity.
same thing, expecting different results, and you're not getting them.
Well, there hasn't been a lot of demand, Counselor,
How do we know that?
because nobody's asking about it.
But you gotta go
And-
tell the
and
world
I
we're
would-
here.
I would hope, Counselor, that with the announcement with RARA, we need to be getting ready because folks are gonna start looking and wanting to know what's available, and we need to be ready to show it.
Well, to that point, what's your marketing plan to let people know that we are here? We need to have something together. And we need to define our direction of what we're gonna do.
Janet, did you ever have anybody interested in 100 and 117?
Yes, those are not vacant at this time yet.
But
So-
they're coming vacant, right? And
Yes.
And there
So
might
I
be,
have shown properties, I guess that's what I would say.
so there might be a customer coming in behind.
So are all the available properties listed on the EDC website? Are there pictures with number of square feet available and the amenities?
Yes. Yeah, and Cisco and I both have worked on creating a spreadsheet so that he's aware when he goes to sell or when there's anybody that's inquiring what's available out here. They are also listed on our Fly Roswell website so that that has been an addition this year that didn't exist before. And also I would say that, a property manager would have that duty, and we have had a big vacancy for quite some time. So I'm hoping that the new person that's coming on will be able to take that plan and run with it. But I hear you, Counselor, and I think we will work with her on that to make sure we get a plan together and bring it to you all.
So the plan needs to include something beyond just making it available on the website.
Correct. That's what I hear
And
Counselor
Mike-
asking for.
Mike likely has other avenues that he can make this information available. But does airport staff, are you pretty confident that you've got enough info on each building that we know, I know we know how big it is, but do we know how functionally usable each building is right now? And or, except for 91, I guess, what it would take to get it in a functionally usable condition?
Yes, we do. We had somebody interested in 93, so we were very large and depthly on that property. So I know what's missing from that property and what is required to get that to usability, depending on what the use of the building is. That's always a variable. So we're really talking about the north end of 115 that doesn't exist really anymore. We're talking about building 93, which is the old cookie factory. That is a viable property, and we do need to work on marketing that. That one I would put out there. It's the one I get the most interest on.
That's the blue building close to Hobson Road.
Yep.
Are there term sheets attached to the websites with all the pertinent information that someone could say, yeah, I'm interested in this?
I will verify with Cisco. I'm not sure if they created a term sheet that they've attached to their website, but I do know he has them created, available to give out.
Are the rates listed on them? The price?
I do not believe we list the rates.
I'm just curious. Might be attractive if somebody.
Yeah, I would think a lot of people, when you consider what others pay in metropolitan areas, that could be a big selling point.
I think it's a hard job to market what's on this airport.
Well,
I know it is what it is, but it's a hard one.
We do have a couple T hangers open, and now we have the 3 cookie cutter buildings, 732, 33, and 34 that are available.
Okay, any other questions on vacant properties? Thank you for your question, Counselor. Item number 24, lease summary report.
Okay, so we currently have maintained the 91 total parcels.
Could you take that full screen?
It's pretty small. And typically that's in our packages too.
I think if you just punch on the screen, the button above it there. Keep going up one more. Just
Go up,
Go up on
all the way to the top.
There you go.
Can you do the pull down from it? Or does it allow you to start with the current screen?
Sorry.
Where the hell are the kids when you need them?
Staff.
Oh, yeah, that's.
You can tell they're frustrated right now. They're frustrated. They're like, come on, man.
Okay, alright, so we do have 91 parcels. We currently have 21 leases that are expired or are expiring. One of those is Aflife's renewal that Hess and I have been working on, so that is a significant number of those included in that as well. And so we kind of are working through some negotiations. I did put on the left-hand side the upcoming leases, just so you have an idea about what's coming. Red Mountain Arsenal is going to expire at the end of this month. They're working together, but they're currently going to remain in holdover until they can get some of their accounts squared away with us. I do have a redlined lease from EAN Holdings, which is actually Enterprise Rent-A-Car, so that one will be coming through for your review. And that's a general aviation. Carlton Walker will be in July. So that just gives you a snapshot of what will be coming down and to work through, or that you'll be seeing. The expired leases are listed over on the right-hand side, so you can see what we're working through as far as they're in negotiations. Kestrel Anesthesia did vacate T Hangar 120-1. And so we do have an additional T hangar that is now open. New Mexico DOT had their lease. We've executed it on our side. We're waiting for them to sign their side of it. Summit has been very difficult to get their renewal signed. I'm not really sure if it's being held up in their legal department. Jennifer, I've met with him a couple of times trying to get that to be expedited. So I'll be looking to probably put a deadline on that for them to get that to us.
What is Summit?
Summit is the cafe downstairs.
Oh.
Pack Blue is in building 755. They are a company that's been out of Alaska. They have had aircraft here for parking, and they are also vacating their building. So they should be out by the 15th of June. So that'll be another building that is coming available. And I'll be doing a final walkthrough with them. Bravo 3, we did get the signature for that, and it is, I think the mayor may have signed it today. So I do know it at least got me in his office today. Air Sale, Hangar 85 and the AOA land is in their court at this point. It did expire at the end of this month, or at the end of May. So it is in a holdover status. They are attempting to get, or working on getting a appraisal for their building so that we can negotiate off of a current appraised price. And I just let you know about Aflight, and then I don't know what the bottom is covered.
Gotta hide that thing.
Okay. The Badlands Estates, which I had shared that they are vacating. So we're staying pretty consistent. We are picking up a couple more vacancies, which lends to Councilor Hildebrand's meeting recommendation that we start working on a marketing plan. So that's kind of where we are.
So the leases on the right-hand side in the gray box, those are all in the process somewhere.
Yes.
And on the left-hand side, the top three leases, Red Mountain, EAN, and Dr. Walker, those we'll see this next month.
Well, Carlton's probably not going. Charlie Murphy, I don't know, he had a building with some cars or something that somebody broke into and stole a bunch of stuff. They didn't go over a huge fence.
But all of those leases are current in their payments,
Yes.
correct?
Yes, all of them are current except for Kestrel, which wound up with a demand notice and needed to come there. And he just chose to vacate instead of, so he has a back due amount still due to settle up.
And Red Mountain is still current.
They owe for their insurance but everything else is current.
Okay. Has Red Mountain indicated anything on when they anticipate manufacturing startup again?
No, they haven't said anything about that.
Any other questions on leases then?
It's just, were they still at the hospital or somewhere?
He's a traveling anesthesiologist, so I don't believe he's here anymore. He has a home here, but he contracts out.
Give you some laughs sometimes.
Yeah.
If there are no other questions on the leases, then Jennifer, give us an update on QuickBooks.
We're almost there.
Okay.
Almost there.
Yeah, we started 2 months ago with about 8 pages worth of accounting that needed to be reconciled. We're down to 2, and we're really kind of clearing everything out. I anticipate that we'll have some items to send up to legal to look at, and then we'll be bringing it forward as far as really old debt that we have to figure out how the council wants to deal with it.
So the 8 pages were people that had not paid.
No, it wasn't that they hadn't paid, it was just a matter of reconciling the accounts, so making sure that CPI increases had happened the way that they were supposed to, that we didn't have double payments. So we just had double invoices. We had multiple departments or multiple staff because we've changed over time, just making sure that the invoices were valid and that we attempt to collect them.
Are you able to send a statement if they're in arrears 30 days that shows back open invoices? That has been a problem for a long time.
I send those monthly, and at this point, I'm sending them weekly.
But will the system be able to do that?
As of right now, Tyler, I'm able to resend an invoice out, and there is a statement that I can pull that, yes, so.
Any other questions on invoicing? I've just thought of one. When you have a tenant that gets an automatic 3% bump, is there anything that goes out to the tenant other than their invoice for the month in which that 3% bump is due?
Before, they would send out a 30-day notice that was going to happen to the tenant. That has not been consistently done since we've not had a property manager. So, but yes.
So is that something that needs to be done?
Yes.
Okay. So with a property manager, hopefully we can get that accomplished. Okay. All right. We are down to one action item. Jenna, talk us through the auto hangers.
I think Ed is online. I just want to make sure he is still there. Yeah, he's there. hang with us for a little bit. Yeah, so Ed Prather is with the Airport Garage Company. They've submitted a term lease, and I just wanted to kind of hit the highlights of it. We've been working with them for almost a year at this point, and at one point it was a different company. The project was transitioned to the Airport Garage Company, and we've continued to work through the terms with location and size. So at this point, the Airport Garage Company is looking at a property that is across the street from us, where the overflow parking is. So that has not changed since the last time we presented to you. They are planning on new buildings that would be steel and set on a concrete slab. They're looking for a 25-year primary term lease, and the new lease term would commence upon substantial completion of the new buildings, but in no case longer than 6 months after the lease execution. Estimated construction start would be fall of 2024, if we can go ahead and get the recommendation to go forward with the term sheet. Their lease rates are looking at 35 cents on the footprint of the property itself, and 10 cents for the surrounding area. So the ingress and the egress would be 10 cents per square foot. That will be, the size will be determined on the market study that they're about to put out. They're wanting to kind of get a feel for the size of building they want to build based on how much demand will be for it. The exterior building signage, they're asking that we allow them to place that at this time as part of their market study. We've been very cognizant to talk about the way that sign would read so that we don't overpromise something and then this doesn't come to fruition. So we want to make sure we're all clear that this is an option coming, but that it's not by any means, I mean, they may have them rent, I believe they will probably have them all rented out by the time frame that they get their market study done. They're more for long-term storage, so they are looking for 1-year leases for these slots. They're not day-to-day, so it's a little different than just coming out and parking at the airport. And I think that I would defer to Ed at this point if you have any further questions. I do know that we have, if you don't mind sharing the PowerPoint real quick. There's a picture of the facility that they have built at Denver International Airport, and then the other facility is at Moab.
Yeah, I'm happy to answer any questions if you all have any. We're hopeful to make this work with y'all, and that it would be an amenity for the users, and obviously getting the show, which is fantastic news. Hopefully creates even more demand for a use like this.
Pretty self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's a good plan, I think.
Yeah, and the location where we're placing them, there is room to grow behind them. So if they would like to enlarge their footprint, they'll have the option to do that.
Beautiful.
But there isn't any paving behind it.
No, they are the ones that would have to put everything, they make the entire investment on the improvement of the land.
So where there's existing paving, it's my understanding that they'll put a concrete slab down beneath the building. So they've got to tear the paving up, put a slab in, and then build the building.
Yeah, is that accurate? And I'm not sure that you determined you're going on the asphalt or behind it at this point.
I believe that's accurate. I think with the location that we've discussed and kind of gone back and forth and determined would be, the most suitable, that existing kind of pavement is pretty torn up. So, and we need to make sure that we've got the depth and necessary driveway to get the turning radius. So there would be some infrastructure need, in preparing that site, but should be pretty straightforward. And especially with the orientation, with it being right there at the crosswalk. I think it lends itself quite well. And especially, Jenna, we had talked a little bit about, potentially the site for a hotel next door. But it sounds like, you were still feeling good that site that we had talked about, that existing kind of parking lot there, that, like you said, you could potentially even, build to the north there if the demand, was there for the, the need was there.
And everybody's okay with 35 cents under the building and 10 cents for ingress egress space? And how does that dollarize?
So their footprint winds up being close to $75 to $150 a month, depending on the size of their building. So that scope would change based on the square footage. And the square footage of the egress and ingress is adjusted with that as well. So I think they gave the example of 3,000 square foot for a 10-unit building. And their minimum size would be 1,800 square foot.
So how does, when we dollarize the 35 and 10 cents, how does that match up with their anticipated income?
They will be getting about 155 to 165 per unit, which is about 1,800 a month after their investment. I mean, they have all the building and all the infrastructure that they've
Depending on the size of the building and the size of the ingress egress.
Correct.
Their expenses and land costs for the city is going to be, you said $65 to $100 a month?
I would have to run the numbers real quick, but yes, that's about accurate.
So,
I mean, if you did a straight, it's going to be basically 45 cents per square foot.
Sure.
But there's no provision for annual escalations.
Well, we have not put that in yet. I mean, this is kind of part of our preliminary discussion for their term. This is not a lease. This is just saying, can we start going forward with allowing, them to do their market study?
So this is just a first pass?
Yes.
Okay, so the lease, these items are for negotiating purposes?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, this
and that would be something that we would expect, as far as an escalation there, is I think we can all imagine.
Yeah, and this really isn't an action item. It's not.
Yeah, it's on our agenda as an action item.
Yeah, I think this is one of those times. This is more of an informational, and your input allows me to enter into formal contract negotiations.
So I don't think we have enough info, Mr. Attorney, to opine significantly on this today, but I hate to wait till next month.
I think that mostly their concern they're wanting a little bit of a guarantee about you all being happy with what they're planning to do so that they can start getting cost analysis done and estimates done. So
I think if they can do something that looks like that, that's going to be acceptable for what we've got. But I do think we need to give significant discussion to dollar amounts for land leases because of where this is located. And if they've got info on other areas or something, we can take that into consideration. But that's likely as good a location as they've put these up anywhere in the country. Is my guess. Okay. All right, so even though we've got it on the action item, we really can't take a vote or action on it. And so we need additional input. And if I need to call folks, I'll call folks as we gather gather info on this. Ed, does that satisfy your needs for today?
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, whatever we can do to facilitate or kind of, create peace of mind or work closer to those, terms that would work. Like Jenna said, I think we're just trying to introduce terms, figure that out, and start getting closer to a point where we all feel comfortable that we can test the market or put out some preliminary marketing where we're not over promising but gauging. And like you said, Jenna, I think that would be hopefully positive feedback and quickly. So yeah, I think that's what we're looking for. And again, whatever we can do to help, provide details and anything else.
Okay, any other questions for Ed while he's on the line?
So there's no utilities, electricity, or anything else to be required for the buildings?
They will be responsible for all of that. So there's utility poles behind them. They can tie a meter into their building.
They won't need water or anything.
No, it's just electric. So I believe they said that, I believe you told us that there was one outlet in each garage and then a light.
Yes, and we've got a little bit of flexibility there. As you can imagine, there's just not much amperage there needed, and so we've already worked with the power company to understand what it looks like pulling the power, and it sounds like that it's pretty simple, and maybe that's because the infrastructure that's already near the site. But yeah, like Jenna said, we would be responsible for that. And the usage is quite low, but we would be sure that we can, do that the right way. And then, and whatever the right path is, we can determine, do we need exterior lights on a motion sensor, things like that. We want this to work for everybody. And, the current units that we have in Moab and at Denver International, they look really nice. We want to make sure that this is an amenity for users and looks good and adds to the value that the airport provides.
Yeah, you might want internet access for your building so you can have access to security and stuff like that, and photos of your vehicles, whoever might go in there.
And we can kind of work through any and all of that. At the end of the day, of course, we want something that works for y'all and the users. And as you can imagine, these we started building these back in 2002, but the latest iteration in Moab, everything costs more, and that just sort of is what it is. But we want to make sure that final product works, whether that's lighting, internet usage, and everything else in between.
Ed, thank you for your interest and patience on doing this. Hopefully you've got enough info that you can do your own best practices on this, and we can wrap this up in the next 30 to 60 days and get you going.
Well, we certainly appreciate you working with us and communicating, and we're excited about the prospect here. So, I think we're in a good spot. And again, please, we're very happy to jump on a call and work through anything and everything anytime.
Okay. Thank you very much. All right.
Thanks.
Does anyone, if anyone has any agenda items for our next meeting, I'm going to be setting the agenda on Friday the 14th in the afternoon out here at the Air Center. And we've got obviously several items to pick up again. But if you've got specific agenda items, please get with me prior to, not this coming Friday, but the next Friday. Any announcements from AAC members. Comments, questions?
So our next meeting will be July the 2nd, Tuesday.
Perfect. Yes, 1:30, July the 2nd. Any staff comments, announcements? Any public participation or announcements? All right, the chair will entertain a motion to adjourn the meeting. Been moved and seconded. All those in favor signify so by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed, meeting is adjourned.